Another legend has died today. We pour one out for our buddy, the Golf.
This is the man who drives a Volkswagen.
Yes, it's true. Volkswagen have announced that the Mark 8 Golf will be the last internal combustion engine powered Golf. And just like that, after 50 years, it is the end of an era. Today, we're going to take a closer look at the Volkswagen Golf GTI. The Golf GTI is a car that has been a fan favourite for over 4 decades, from its early development to its current iteration. We will cover everything you need to know about this iconic car. But before we get started on the GTI, first we need to know about the Golf itself. Golf originated in the 15th century in Scotland. The 18-hole round was created at the old course at St Andrews in 1764. Oh crap, this is the wrong Golf. Sorry, let me just fix a few things. Here we go. The Volkswagen Golf, also known as the Volkswagen Rabbit in the United States and Canada, was first introduced in 1974. The Golf GTI was designed by Italian car designer Giorgetto Giugiaro, and it was based on Volkswagen's A1 platform. The Golf was initially available as a 2-door or 4-door hatchback, and it was powered by a range of petrol and diesel engines. One interesting fact about the development of the Volkswagen Golf is that it was originally intended to be a replacement for the Beetle. In fact, Volkswagen had already started developing a new rear-engined air-cooled car to replace the Beetle. It was called the Porsche 911.
It's me, Frost! I'm fucking filming! Put shit from my mailbox! I'm gonna smash you in it!
Just kidding, it was going to be known as the NSU K70. However, after Volkswagen acquired the NSU brand, they decided to scrap the K70 and focus on a new front-engined, water-cooled front-wheel drive car. This would become known as the Golf. As a result, the Golf quickly became a popular choice for car buyers due to its practicality, reliability and affordability. But at the same time, the Golf wasn't fast. It looked great and handled well, but there just wasn't enough power. And so, that was where the idea of the Golf GTI came about. The Golf GTI was first introduced in 1975 as a high-performance version of the Volkswagen Golf. The GTI was designed to be a fun and sporty car that was also practical and affordable. The first generation GTI was powered by a 1.6-litre engine producing 110 horsepower and 103 pounds-feet of torque. Mated to a 4-speed manual gearbox, the GTI was a huge success and it quickly gained a reputation as a fun and affordable performance car. The second generation of the Golf GTI was introduced in 1983, and with a significant improvement over the first generation. It featured a more powerful engine, improved suspension, and a more refined interior. The Mark II GTI was powered by a 1.8-litre engine, producing 112 brake horsepower and 109 pound-feet of torque. It also featured a sporty body kit and improved handling that made it a hit with enthusiasts. It's also here where we discovered a few common trends, such as the golf ball style gear stick and the red trim line that would be on the grille of the GTIs. The third generation of the Golf GTI was introduced in 1991, and it featured a more rounded design with improved safety features and a more powerful engine. The third generation GTI was powered by a 2-litre engine producing 150 brake horsepower and 133 pound-feet of torque. The car also featured a sporty body kit and a more refined interior, which made it a hit with both driving enthusiasts and car buyers looking for a practical, sporty, and most importantly, safe car. Fourth generation of the Golf GTI was introduced in 1998. It featured a more refined design, improved safety features, and a more powerful engine. The fourth gen Golf GTI, or the Mark IV as normal people call it, was powered by a 1.8-litre turbocharged engine with 150 or 180 brake horsepower. The car also featured a sporty body kit, as you would expect, improved handling and a more refined interior. But the Mark IV Golf was a bit fat. No, not body shaming or anything, but it was a bit of a overweight car, and some journalists just were not impressed by the handling or the ferocious turbo lag from the new turbo engine. Volkswagen seen this criticism and they decided to up their game. The Mark V Golf GTI was introduced in 2004 and it featured a much more modern and aggressive design. It was also the first Golf GTI to have an early iteration of what would become the EA888 engine. This, if you don't know, is a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine producing 197 horsepower and 207 pounds-feet of torque. Although it was heavier than the Mark IV, but thankfully with some new engineers on board, the handling was improved massively, and it was so much more refined. Thankfully, this car was praised to death. People absolutely love the Mark V Golf GTI. Some people even call it the return to form that Volkswagen needed. Volkswagen had finally turned a new leaf with the Golf GTI, and it was safe to say it's here to stay. Now in 2009 we got the 6th generation of the Golf GTI. This car, although based on the Mark V platform, it was again a significant improvement over the previous generation. It was much more fuel efficient, better emissions, and if you ask me, the Mark VI GTI, in a completely unbiased opinion, is the best looking Golf of all time. The power was increased to 211 brake horsepower. And once again, enthusiasts, buyers and journalists alike absolutely adored the Mark VI. People generally thought the Mark VI GTI was the best Golf GTI. But then the Mark VII came along and that changed everything, quite literally. In 2012 the Golf GTI had a bit of a transformation, alright. There was a departure from the previous generation in terms of design. The Mark VII had a much more modern and sophisticated design. It also had way better fuel efficiency and emissions. This generation of Golf also had what was called the Performance Pack. This car had a clever limited slip differential, and it came with a little power boost as well, and Golf R brakes. More on the Golf R later. This is also the first GTI to kind of undergo a facelift. Whereas Volkswagen usually barely changed the Golf styling, and they never really did a midlife facelift, the Mark VII changed that. And that is when we got the Mark 7.5. Power was increased from 230 horsepower on the base Mark 7 to 230, and 230 to 245 for the Performance Pack. And the differential was even better, and the brakes were even bigger. The Mark 7 generation also introduced the Club Sport model, which is a track-focused hardcore version of the GTI. The Club Sport 40 produced 265 brake horsepower, and even 300 horsepower for just 10 seconds when the overboost function was activated. There was also a Club Sport S version which ditched the rear seats, produced 305 horsepower all the time, and came with special Michelin tyres. This was a lightweight, rare, fast as hell Golf. It was the hot hatchback version of the GT3 RS. Now moving on to the current model, the Mark 8 Golf GTI. This car is powered by the same 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine as the Mark 7, but now it produces 241 brake horsepower and 273 pounds-feet of torque. This car is either mated to a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed DSG gearbox. Sadly, we no longer get the 3-door variant, as this generation of Golf is only a 5-door version. Anyway, the Club Sport version returned, but there sadly is no S model, or a manual gearbox, which is a shambles. Instead we got the standard Club Sport and the Edition 45. A very attractive car, regardless. But if GTIs for whatever reason aren't powerful enough for you, then you're in luck, because over the years we also had the Golf R32, which eventually became the Golf R. The Golf R32 was first introduced in 2003, and it was the first production car from Volkswagen to feature the company's all-wheel drive system known as 4Motion. It was powered by a 3.2-litre V6 engine producing 240 brake horsepower, mated to a 6-speed gearbox. The same setup was also followed up with the Mark V, which got the same engine, a little power boost, and a few more refinements. But this all changed in 2010 when Volkswagen introduced the Golf R model for the Mark VI. This replaced the R32. The Golf R was powered by a turbocharged 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, which produced 265 brake horsepower and 243 pounds-feet of torque. The car looked extremely boy racerish, but you know, I think it looked fan-frickin-tastic. In 2014, Volkswagen introduced the Golf R Mark 7, which was even more powerful than any of its predecessors. The Mark 7 had, again, a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, but it produced 300 horsepower. If you got a DSG, you got yourself launch control, and with that in mind, this car could do 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds, and this tradition continued on with the Mark 8. The current generation Golf R has 320 brake horsepower, a much cleverer 4-wheel drive system that if you get the Performance Pack for it, it will have a drift mode and it can send all the power to the rear wheels. It will do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, if not quicker. So there you have it. That is the fascinating history of the Volkswagen Golf GTI. Over the years, the Golf GTI has evolved from a practical, sporty hot hatch to a much more refined and luxurious sports car. The Golf GTI, quite simply, was a massive inspiration in the automotive industry. It basically killed the 2-door convertible sports car, but it also inspired other automakers to create their own hot hatches. And with that in mind, knowing that the future of the Golf GTI will be different, it's not going to make any noises, maybe a fake one. So if you're thinking of buying a GTI, you probably should get one. I'll be brutally honest, I'm looking at getting one. But with that in mind, thank you all so much for watching. Hope to see you all very soon.